All right, check the mic. We're live. Instant reaction time. Davante Adams is now a member of the Los Angeles Rams. I believe it was Rap Sheet who had it first. Sam, I don't want to cross Rap Sheet. I don't want, we don't want to get into any tussles here with Rap Sheet. Make sure we properly credit him. But yeah, Davante Adams to the Rams. What was your initial reaction when you heard this?
I'm just happy Devonte gets to stay on the West Coast, or return to the West Coast. That appeared to be a real motivating factor for his movements this offseason. In addition to the motivating factors of $26 million guaranteed dollars and $43.5 million total. Sorry, no, that's the Harold Landry deal. Deals happening left, right, and center. It's very close though. $26 million for Davante Adams and $46 million over the 2 years for him. So it's big money.
Patriots signed Harold Landry. It's all that money. Wow.
Right.
That seems like a little much. Anyway.
He's only 28 years old. It's really, it's not too bad.
Oh, he's just a kid. Let's talk Devonte first.
Yeah. So look, those are a lot of reasons to go to the West Coast as well. In addition to, teaming up with Matthew Stafford, like that Rams offense, we talked about it when we were debating whether the Rams were really looking to move on from Stafford or if they were just looking to set the market for the contract extension that he wanted. Now that they've got Stafford, they're going to be presumably moving on from Cooper Kupp, but there's a lot of other things in that offense that make sense. Bringing back guys like Alaric Jackson, you've got Puka Nacua, Kyron Williams. Like, again, this is an offense that can absolutely hum again next year.
Yeah, they're kind of loaded on offense now. And look, Davante Adams isn't what he once was, but that's okay. Puka Nacua is almost what Davante Adams once was, isn't he? Puka's pretty close at this point. One of the best receivers in the NFL. And as we've said all along the way here, Davante can still play. Now, the caveat to that is I would have said the same thing about Amari Cooper, DeAndre Hopkins, and some of these other guys that are hitting free agency right now. I would have said that about them a year ago. Hey, these guys can still play. We know that receiver aging can hit pretty quickly. But Davante doesn't have to be a one right now. He's a complementary piece to Puka Nacua. He can still run routes, can still get open. He doesn't need to just have Aaron Rodgers, but when he had Aaron Rodgers in the second half last year, he did a nice job. I thought Davante was still an impact player with the Raiders, even when it was Gardner Minshew thrown to him or Jimmy Garoppolo throwing the ball to him. Like, he was still an important piece of that offense, and now an important piece of this Rams offense, which now Davante, Puka 1-2 punch, pretty solid offensive line, good young offensive line. We know what Kyron Williams brings out of the backfield, and then Stafford tying it all together as he's returning.
Yeah, look, when the Rams were one of the teams we kind of speculated for Davante Adams. In fact, I think you maybe called them as that team way back when we were discussing that as an idea. One of the things we said is, look, this combination of Davante Adams, he's the type of receiver that needs an Aaron Rodgers to throw him the ball, even when he's kind of covered, right? Give him those back shoulder plays, let him adjust to the football. It doesn't necessarily require him to have the kind of separation that he would get earlier in his career. And Stafford is that type of quarterback, right? Stafford will give you a chance to make plays. He will throw to effectively covered receivers and let those guys go make catches. He's accurate enough to put the ball into tight windows. So I think from that point of view, it's a perfect combination. Number one, you've got Puka Nacua, who can be the number one guy. You don't need Adams to be what he used to be. And number two, you're giving him every chance possible to bring whatever he still has left to the table, because Stafford will give him those opportunities. He's not just going to look up, go, oh no, Adams is covered, I'm going somewhere else. Like, he'll give him a chance to make a play.
Interesting spot the Rams are in as well. Remember 2 years ago, they essentially could not do anything in free agency. They were coming off of a Super Bowl in 2021, a disappointing injury-riddled season in 2022, and they were in no position, right? They had to completely reset the roster. Well, how the turntables, Sam, in the NFC West, you've got the 49ers, you have the Seahawks. Both of those teams losing a lot of veterans, maybe not able to keep a lot of their older players right now. And the Rams are sitting there with the really good young nucleus and Stafford, right? It's a young nucleus, an old quarterback, but now they've got the cap flexibility. Now they have the ability to pounce on a Davante Adams after he gets released by the Jets. So I think it's a really nice move, and also just continues the multi-year reset I think that you're getting from Les Snead and company with the Rams, where they've put this roster into a really nice position where they rejigs the offensive line, the defensive front, and it's extremely young. And now they have that flexibility when the opportunities arise to go get a big name veteran like a Davante Adams.
And it always shows you the power of good drafting for a while, right? Like if you have an extended period of pretty good drafting where you're able to get a bunch of impact players, the contracts that those guys are on are so cheap relative to veteran contracts, relative to, the big money deals that you're going to have to give really high end players, that it gives you so much flexibility to do everything else. So the strike that they had with that draft, even just the top two picks with Braden Fisk and Jared Verse, like that gives them a ton of power. Puka Nacua in the fifth round, was it? Or sixth round, fifth round, to get a guy that low down, who's their number one receiver, who's like one of the top receivers in the NFL, like his contract barely registers, it barely moves the needle in terms of, salary cap. So that's what lets you go and get a Davante Adams for, $26 million a year effectively, because Puka Nacua is earning peanuts until his contract, comes due, the second deal.
There's still a chance that Cooper Kupp does come back. I think there's maybe less of a chance now. And the Rams trying to get a little bit of cap relief and, trying to put him out there and see what they can get in return. I assume that they're still going to make that deal. I mean, this could work if they brought him back, but I think they're going to, they're going to try to flip him for something. But I don't know if they're going to get what they want out there. The Cooper Kupp thing is interesting, though, because he's a receiver in name, but Davante Adams is an ex-receiver. And we've talked a lot when we're trying to team build for all of these teams you like the Bills or the Chargers, teams that might really need that outside threat. Not a lot of Davante Adams options out there. So he gets signed, and this might be the first domino in some of the DK Metcalf discussions, because, again, there's not a lot of DK Metcalf types out there. So there's Cooper Kupp types. I assume the Rams will trade him for a team that could use a high volume possession receiver. I don't think that the Rams need him at this point because of having Davante Adams and Puka Nacua. But I thought it was a good move for the Rams to do this, in part because of the scarcity of those outside receivers like a Davante Adams.
I mean, I wonder if they're even going to be able to get anything out of Cooper Kupp, or if they have to make the choice to keep him or release him. And if they were given that choice, I think they might release him at this point. Like my feeling is the Cooper Kupp is gone. And the only question is, can they get anything for him, or are they going to have to release him and, just let him hit the market? That we're getting to the point now, like this is late Sunday. We're getting towards the legal tampering period, the actual start of the season, or the start of the league year, rather. Teams that like to do players a solid want to let them get them, to the market before that. It's like, it's sort of seen as a player friendly thing, a thank you of, we've done with you, but we'll let you get to the market before the real market opens. So the clock's ticking on that Cooper Kupp thing. If they want to, do him a favor, if they can't get anything for him, as opposed to letting the clock tick down and, waiting until the league year starts.
All the news is breaking right now. Or is the league starting? Is this like Australian time or something like that? Is it already legal tampering? What's happening here? We're sitting here on Sunday night, and we have long snappers, backup quarterbacks, Harold Landry. We'll have to do separate videos on some of those guys, especially the long snapper stuff. Yeah. Joey Bosa maybe being some interest coming from the Miami Dolphins. All sorts of news breaking here. So this is what we're gonna do, Sam. We're gonna react instantly throughout the week here. When the big news breaks, it's all gonna happen on the Check the Mic YouTube channel. Might not make it all into the podcast until our regularly scheduled audio podcasts, Monday 9 a.m., Wednesday and Thursday at 10:30 a.m. So we're gonna react instantly to all the big stuff on the YouTube channel. That's why you need to be subscribed and have the bell selected.
Remember, this is what we said happens, right? The farce of moving the legal tampering period back, like the time that the news happens just gets earlier and earlier. Like there's no staving that off. There's no like heading it off with, it's illegal now. It's just wherever you put the legal line, the illegal line is going to move a couple of days before as well.
I like our friend Josh Norris saying the underrated role that Davante Adams is filling here is the Demarcus Robinson role in the red zone, where Robinson had 9 catches over the last 2 seasons inside the 20, 8 of those for touchdowns. Davante, at the very least, we talk about this with aging receivers, at the very least, the nuance to the route running, his ability to get open in short areas should help in the red zone. At the very least, I think he gets open everywhere. I don't know how much of a deep threat he is, but I think Devonte, again, adds a lot to this Rams offense. He can line up inside. He can line up in the slot. I'm sorry, inside or outside, win those one-on-ones, and take a little pressure off Puka Nacua. The one other thing I'll say, too, I think we've seen Stafford win in a whole bunch of different ways, right? When he had Calvin Johnson and he just fed Calvin. We've seen him with Cooper Kupp, and he just fed Cooper Kupp, and to the point where Cooper Kupp had, one of the most incredible seasons of all time, including that playoff run. But we've also seen him distribute the ball, right? We saw them get rid of Calvin Johnson in Detroit, and all of a sudden Stafford may have actually played better. So I think he can kind of make this all work. Sometimes I get concerned about having the high volume alpha type of receiver for certain quarterbacks. I feel like we've seen Stafford win in numerous ways. And again, I think that's why it's a pretty good fit here for the Rams.
And I think at this point, he's not, whether or not he would have accepted that kind of role earlier in his career of, hey, you're going to get fewer targets. Like, number one, if you watch that receiver documentary, the Netflix thing, where he was sort of one of the chief subjects of that, he didn't seem to care that much. And this was the Raiders. Like, he should have been the number one, and he really wasn't. Like, Aiden O'Connell will go up to him and be like, man, I'm sorry. Like, mid game, be like, I'm sorry, man. They're just double covering. I can't get you the ball yet. Like, don't worry, I'll get you yours. And he's like, forget about it. Don't worry about it. Like, do what you're supposed to do. Don't worry about getting me the ball. I feel like Adams is the kind of guy where even at his peak might have been okay with that kind of an arrangement. Now I think he's certainly fine with it. Like, he knows. Like, he knows he's probably not exactly where he was. He also knows they got Puka Nacua. He's interested in winning, right? He's gone to the West Coast. It's nice. You got Stafford. If they're going to try and win a championship, that's what he's looking for. So I'm not concerned that, he's going to need more targets than Nacua, or he's going to create some trouble. I think it's a perfect mesh in that kind of terms. Just to kind of reset for people that were in late, he was cut, so he's available before the legal tampering thing. So this can happen right now. And as per Rap Sheet, it's a 2-year deal with $46 million, with $26 million of it guaranteed. So decent money for Stafford, or for Davante Adams, but not crazy for a guy who's only a couple of years removed from being as good as any receiver in football.
46 million total, right? 2 years, 46 million.
2 years, 46, 26 guaranteed.
Yeah, so that's pretty good. I mean, when the going rate for the high end receivers, and we're not going to put Devonte in that bucket right now. The high end receivers are all going for 30 plus. Miles Garrett today just signed for 40. So now the high end receivers, your Jamar Chases of the world, are going to be pushing 40. And so now Devonte, like 23 million a year, pretty good for a high end number 2 right now.
And that's the way to look at it, right? We had Ari Meirov on our show, and he said that Jamar Chase is going to be looking for a deal that starts with a 4, right? 40, and that was before the Myles Garrett deal was signed, and that's now the benchmark for like highest paid non-quarterback in the NFL. So if Chase signs a deal north of 40 million a year, 23, 26, depending on what exactly the structure of the deal looks like, for Davante Adams as a number 2, is perfectly good value. I mean, that's, half of the going rate, half of that kind of going rate for a guy who might be a high end 2 still. I think that's a great deal for everybody involved.
It is. And just to remind people, as you just said, free agency does start tomorrow, Monday, the 10th at noon. However, players that already got cut, like Davante Adams, like Harold Landry, who are signing, they can sign right now. You have teams re-signing their own free agents. That's still allowed. And, we have things like Myles Garrett breaking the bank with his $40 million deal. So there's a lot going on. That's why you got to hit the subscribe button right here.
Yeah, and that was the point I was making with the Cooper Kupp thing, right? The reason that it's seen as doing a guy a solid to let him go before the start of the league year is because you let him get to this market. It's a captive market where he's available. Not that many other guys are available before everybody else is legally available. So it's sort of seen as doing the guy a favor, rather than, like, the best thing for the team theoretically would be to string it out as long as humanly possible. Let it get to the real free agency, and then if you can't get the deal, fine, he's expired. But the good, the sort of the what's the word? The right way of doing it, I guess, is to say, look, we gave it as long as possible. Nobody's biting. We'll let him go like 24 hours, 12 hours in advance, whatever.
People are cooked. People love it. People love it, loving the live reaction. Appreciate the feedback. Hit the thumbs up if you guys don't mind. hit the subscribe, and we'll keep doing this. We're going to be doing this all week when the big news breaks. So appreciate everybody for being here. Davante Adams is now with the Los Angeles Rams. We'll be here all week. And don't forget the usual 9 a.m. Monday, 10:30, Wednesday, and Thursday. Check the mic.